Welcome to Eipip meeting 51. I have shared agenda in the chat. The first item listed here is discuss policies to merge pull requests to update an EIP in absence of author's approval. I have added the link, which I have taken from the ETH R&D Discord from Sam Wilson's conversation. Actually, I was also thinking about it a few days ago, working on EIP Insight. I came across some old pull request, if I can share, and people may refer to it. The pull request number is 4766. So what I found that the general recommendation is that interested parties should fork and create a new proposal and submit the pull request. But I was hoping, like in exceptional cases, like making small edits to final EIPs, do people think that editors should be permitted to merge the pull request with minimal or maybe no-brainer kind of edits request? So what is the general thought here?
In the past, I have, if it's like just a typo or something, like someone is just fixing a typo, or they're just like, maybe it's a very non-contentious like word change, like a grammar fix and whatnot. Pretty much anything that is definitely nothing, so nothing normative can happen to a final EIP at all. That's just straight up, can't do it. If the change is substantial in any way, like I can strawman why someone would disagree with it, then I usually will wait for the author. So this includes I forget who it was, wanted to go through and change the usage, change a bunch of word choices throughout all the IPs. Like I forget what it was. I think blacklist, they wanted to change to something else, like blocklist, I think. And that is something that I'm unwilling as an editor to override. So again, because it's a very political thing. It's not just a grammar fix. Like the EIP isn't incorrect. It's not invalid grammar. It's not like a spelling error. Like this new person is coming in and saying, I think this should be worded differently because I have a different worldview or different belief system or whatever. For those ones, I am very much against editors overriding the author. Even though they are technically allowed, changes like that are non-normative and therefore they're allowed for final EIPs. What was the number for the one that you were referring to? Pooja? What was the EIP number?
Sorry, I was on mute and I was talking. So the number is 4766. So the only change here is a removal of a semicolon, which looks like an additional is not needed there.
Sorry, this is not an not EIP 4766. This is pull request 4766.
That's correct.
Yeah. Oh, I see. The code is wrong and does not currently execute. Yeah, I'm fine with merging this one. It's just a non-normative correction that fixes a bug in the example code. Normally, so for a situation like this, usually what I'll do is I'll wait a little bit to see if we can get a hold of one of the authors to get them to approve it, just because I prefer to not override the process if it can be avoided. But for something like this, it's been a month. I'm okay with merging it without the authors.
Right. So I was hoping like if we can come to some suggestion or guideline for this for future EIP editors to be referring to, just like we have a policy for EIP1, like it is open for 2 weeks and it is approved by a couple of editors. It can be merged after 2 weeks, even if we do not get all EIP editors approval by that time. So for these kind of small changes, which are considerably no-brainer, I mean, like I know EIP editors are educated enough to identify if can be or not, and it is approved by them, then probably after a month or maybe 2 weeks time, it can be merged. So just wanted to have some decision on that side.
Yeah, so like I said, the main thing that I care about is making it very clear that this would be for grammar and spelling and incredibly trivial changes only. Any changes that someone might find contentious for any reason, I think we should avoid doing. So as long as the wording kind of makes that clear, I'm okay with it.
Absolutely. I'm also referring to one more pull request, and its number is 4513. It looks like this is also a small change in fixing a typo for a function name. And that also seems to be like, being done in a while, but still hanging out there.
So if an editor wants to go through and actually review this, I am okay with it, but like from that line alone, I can't assert that that is not a normative change. Like someone would need to actually like read the EIP and make sure that this is in fact a correct change to make things better and not something that makes it incorrect. And this gets into the problem of we don't have enough editors to go through and review everything, which is why we lean on authors to verify stuff like this.
All right. I think I got your point here. I was also looking into one more pull request. It's 4417. I'm sorry, I kind of collected all these numbers, which I thought that might use some attention here. So about this 4417, it looks like it was approved by one of the editors, but we haven't received any response from the author. And the change seems to be like smaller one. And obviously this is like longer duration. So is it fine, like proposals like this should be merged?
Some of it, like just removing the white space from the end of lines, like that part I'm fine with. I'm guessing they fixed the table rendering for one of these. Yeah, again, this one's kind of bordering on this is starting to get to be a fairly large change, and as an editor, I don't particularly want to read through it all and determine whether it's valid or not. And it's great if we have authors that can take care of that instead. Also, none of this is, so like the white space changes, for example, are not necessary. Like they don't actually change the rendering at all. I'm fine with them, but it feels very opinionated, and I'm generally apprehensive of making opinionated changes to other people's EIPs. Yeah, I think for this one personally, I would rather get author approval, but also it's an ERC, so I wouldn't be the one to handle it anyway.
Right.
So we can leave it up to Sam and Lake Client and Alex and Greg.
All right. I think I have also added in the later agenda, I think it's point number 2 also, that if we can some way automate these things and send reminders, I will bring it back when we get into item number 2. But for item number 1, I think it is okay to have like grammar or spelling or like trivial changes, small trivial changes can be merged after 1 month of period and once it is approved by some of the EIP editors. Does that sound reasonable? Like I'll try to reword it better and then make the suggestion added.
Yeah, I would say if it's been sitting for a month and it is a trivial grammar or spelling change or typo or just like very, very minor bug like missing semicolon or extraneous semicolon in some code, and it's been sitting for a month, then yes, I'm fine with it. That seems reasonable to me. Just at that point, any of the editors can override, and then maybe one day we can have a bot that helps with this, but now just override I think works.
All right. Sam Wilson, do you have any thought on that? I mean, this is from the discussion that you initiated on ETH R&D.
I mean, I'm kind of in the complete opposite direction as Micah. I mean, I think we should probably like have a formal process for taking over EIPs and for like assigning new owners and all of that stuff. And but I'm new, right? Like I don't really I haven't, battle tested my opinions yet. So we'll see how this goes for a while and see what happens.
Yeah, I think one thing that we discussed probably before you joined the call, this is like for exceptional cases, especially for the edits related to final EIPs, because I don't think it makes sense that we go ahead and create another EIP 4 can create another pull request for a same EIP which is already in final, making small changes, right?
Well, yeah, for editorial changes, like I
Yes.
think that's the term that Greg used for them. I think, yeah, it makes sense to let editors merge, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. And does it need to be updated somewhere on EIP1? I on my end maintain a HackMD file where I try to add these exceptional cases for reference of new EIP editors, like people who are from the apprenticeship program. But do we think that it needs to be updated somewhere on EIP1 as well?
EIP1 currently says final, this EIP represents the final standard. A final EIP exists in a state of finality and should only be updated to correct errata and non-normative clarifications. I think that's all the text we have on it in EIP1, and I'm fine with that as it is.
All right.
Personally.
All right. Then probably I will add it into a HackMD file so people in exceptional cases may be able to refer to that. Thank you. I think we have kind of a recommendation ready to be added. Moving on to the item number 2, unless anyone has anything else to add on item 1, which I believe no.
Did we want to have the longer discussion Sam just brought up?
I mean, like I'm open to it, like the process change for the entire process change for EIP editors overriding.
Are you interested in pitching your thing, Sam?
I have another call in 10 minutes, so I probably wouldn't be able to participate very much in the discussion.
Okay, in that case, Sam, I would like to straightway come to item number 9, which is about a survey for having a new time. I know I would like to see more EIP editors joining this call, but looks like the time is not working the best for everyone. So I have created a small survey. It has only 3 questions. One is what would be the best time for you? There are a few options you can select from that, or maybe you can suggest something that works best for you. And if in future we would like to rename this meeting, the current name is EIP, and there are a few suggestions if we would like to rename or just go with that. I would highly appreciate taking out time and responding to that survey, and based on information collected from all EIP editors, maybe we will propose new time for the meeting. All right, moving on to item number 2. Number 2 is discuss the possibility of bot replacing the PR description with a standardized template. I think this is also suggested by Sam Wilson. So.
Yep. Yeah, just a lot of authors seem to, or a lot of people making PRs, I should say, don't replace the text of the PR with anything useful. They just keep the template there. So I think some things that I'd like to see is like a link to the rendered EIP, maybe a description of the change a little bit, just like it, just to make it a little bit easier. But it's really a low priority thing.
Are you suggesting we have like a bot that handles this, or would this be something that we'd request of users?
It'd be done by the bot. So like it would just take whatever text the author leaves there, puts it in like a little, puts it in a specific section, and then adds like a header to the comment.
Oh, yeah, I'd be totally fine with that if we have a bot for that.
So I am assuming that this would not be Eipv, but it would be the general EIP bot that we have, right? An enhancement for that. I'm sorry, I did catch it. So this bot
yes,
feature request. Okay, all right. Okay, then maybe we'll create an issue for this and see if someone can work on this particular item. And just for bot enhancement, I have added few more items here. One is like bot sending reminders to author for action required, and bot sending reminders for editors to action required. So I have few pull requests here, like for example, PR 4762. It seems like it has been open for author's response for a very long time. What do people think about having a bot sending reminder after 3 months? Because after 6 months, we just make the proposal, the pull request stagnant, and it would be nice to have sending a reminder before that. And similar thing for the EIP authors. Like I have seen that, for example, 3975, pull request number 3975, that has a response from the author, and it appears to me like now editors has to take action on that. But I'm not sure if that is slipped because we have like over 50 pull requests open.
Can you provide a link to that EIP?
So it's not the EIP, it's pull request number 3975.
Yeah, can you provide a link to that?
Of course, I can do that. Sharing here in the chat. So the request here was to make some changes, and like it is to move it to final. I'm concerned about this particular EIP because this would be required for the merge EIP, because in that, I think 3675, this proposal is mentioned, and we generally recommend that if a proposal is getting into final status, we make sure that all the proposals which are like required should be in the final status. And I'm not sure why this is being blocked for so long. If it is just waiting for editor's response, so maybe we can send a reminder using bot.
So for this one in particular, I am unwilling to approve it. So we're waiting to see if we can get 2 other editors that disagree with me to approve it. And currently Matt has approved. So we're waiting for someone else to say, yes, I'd like this to go through, and to prove that EIP editing is not actually a dictatorship. My reason is I don't think this should be an EIP at all. Like I think this should be live somewhere else and not be in the EIP's repository. It's essentially, if I remember correctly, it's consensus spec-ish thing, and it's lived in it's got put in the EIP repository because, as Danny mentioned in Discord today, it's a dumping ground for homeless standards and specifications, and I'm very much not a fan of the EIP's repo being the dumping ground for homeless standards and specifications. But if 2 other editors are up for it, feel free to override me.
Is there precedent for something like this being merged?
Actually, this is an informational category. Sorry.
Yeah, so there have been precedents for overriding MICA. Yes, like there have been EIPs I've refused to merge because I disagree with their presence at all. And yet other editors agreed that they should go in. And so it has, that aspect has precedence. Historically, we also have stored lots of stuff in the EIP's repo that is not an Ethereum technical standard, or at least core layer technical standard. This one's not even a standard or a specification, which is also why I don't like it. It's just kind of like a description. And I really feel like this should be a blog post or a documentation site or a README or something like that somewhere else, not an EIP, because there's no standard, no specification here. It's just like, hey, this is a description kind of ish thing of, I want to say it's a proof of stake. Like it's a vague high level. It's not sufficiently specific either. Like it just kind of glosses over some very important parts of how proof of stake works, and it has 1,000 external links to a bunch of other different documents. So it's not self-contained. Like this has everything that I hate about going in one EIP. It's like one EIP that kind of encompasses all the things that I think should not be in an EIP. So that is why I'm blocking it. But again, that doesn't mean that all the editors agree, and Matt has already expressed that he thinks it's fine as an EIP, and so he's just waiting for one other person, because he feels that if an editor is saying no and another saying yes, then we should have a tiebreaker, basically. And I tend to agree with him. And in the inverse situation, I do the same thing. So if you're up for it, Sam, feel free to take a look at it and be the tiebreaker.
I am way too new for this. I'm not getting involved in a controversial EIP.
Also, unfortunately, we have you, Greg, and Alex, and we need one of you to get involved in the controversial EIP. And it's been, what is it, 5 months, and neither Greg nor Alex have gotten involved. So that's why it's kind of sitting here in this really uncomfortable neutral middle ground state. because we don't have enough editors to actually block it and say, no, this will never go in. We don't have enough editors to actually approve it. Yes, this will go in. So it just sits here in its PR
Waiting.
and waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, it's now going against EIP1, so we can definitely delay it for a lot longer. So
Actually, I think a little different here. I mean, I may have a little different opinion because this particular proposal is an informational category that can be allowed, because informational proposal by definition is not a mandate that people needs to follow. It's just a piece of information around the protocol development, which this proposal is actually trying to provide here in terms of like what was planned with the beacon chain and like how people want to continue working on the beacon chain. And some of these inspiration has been implemented in proposal 3675, I believe, and at least the terms are being referred to. So I think because this comes into a informational category, if editors find it okay to be allowed to be merged as a pull request, this would be one of the best informational categories proposal, because we are really scarce on informations around protocol changes in this particular category especially.
yeah, so if you agree the informational category is a reasonable category to have, then this EIP does fit that. I've been trying to get the informational category removed from the EIP's repository for a while. It's dumb.
Yeah, I totally understand.
It's dumb. I think things that end up in the informational category should really just be like their own webpage, like, or their own doc site, or go to ethereum.org and draft up like a thing there, or HackMD article, or any number of other places that is not a technical standards. Again, I'm mostly alone in this. Like, I think Greg has spoken out about being generally in favor of informational EIPs, and previously Nick was in favor of them, I believe. So you wouldn't be going against the grain if you decided to approve this, Sam. You would just be going against Micah, and I really don't care. I'm just not going to put my stamp on it. That's all.
Yeah, I think that is fair. Unfortunately, Sam has to drop off, but I think the recording will help him follow your opinion on this. And I am not an EIP editor. I cannot definitely approve that. So we'll wait for more EIP editors to chime in. I was just hoping to look into some of the enhancement features to be added for BOT that some reminders can be sent out to the EIP editors, like if that is long lost. And I think there is another pull request, which I believe is created by you. The number is 4601, created by Micah. And yeah, this looks like even the author has approved it, but this is waiting because 2 reviewers have been requested to review, and it's pending on that.
Let me take a look.
The reason I'm
So
worried
someone did bring up a valid concern. I think it was Alex. Yeah, Alex said they were against the change. And that's kind of why it stalled out. I think their argument against it was reasonable, and so I'd be very hesitant to override that, especially for a final EIP.
All right. The reason I found these things to be addressed soon, because if we don't do that, this will again start piling up, and the number of open pull requests will be so much that it would be again the same problem. So if we come across these kind of pull requests and we think that it is not good to be proceeded, probably we can.
Can you, after the, I can take another look at this and see if it's worth keeping open. I'll need to sit down and read through the whole discussion again. If you don't hear from me, in a day or two, feel free to ping me again about it.
Sure. Thank you.
I'll at least try to leave a comment saying what my current thoughts are.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Okay, So that was it. I am not sure like if we have any recommendations, suggestions for like creating issues for having this bot sending reminders, because I know this is like of the lowest priority if at all we consider this, because there are a lot of other open issues that needs to be addressed before this. So maybe I can let it live here, come back in future meetings and discuss this again. Moving on, the next item is sorry, I saw you unmuting, Micah. You wanted to add something? Moving on, the next item listed here is GitHub discussion for discussion 2 link. I have picked this one from the issue that is there on EIP GitHub. Also from the earlier discussions regarding this particular issue. Earlier, the issue that was highlighted was Fellowship of Ethereum Magician does not allow to edit the post, like author cannot edit the post. So I tried to reach out some of the maintainers of the website, and from what I was communicated by the team, there is this field post edit time limit. It was then set at a certain number which was greater than 0. However, it is possible by setting it to 0. That means an author who has some reputation on that forum, say TL0 or TL1, they are allowed to edit their post for like unlimited period of time. So if an author is really new, maybe that would not be working for them. But if he or she has certain reputation and they belong to TL0 or TL1 author, then they would be able to edit the post. And my understanding is like the team agreed to make it to 0, though I cannot say it for sure because I haven't verified it. So I would appreciate someone looking into it. And if this issue is still persistent, maybe we can reach out to team.
Does anyone have a very old Ethereum Magician post that they've written that they want to try to edit? I don't know if I have any.
Same here, I'm not an author of any proposal. I proposed many times, but it ended up somewhere else. That's okay. So maybe if it is fair, we can maybe consider that this issue is something that can be taken care of. If someone has any challenges editing author stuff, then we can definitely reach out to team. But I think it should be resolved and that should not be a case. Other than this particular issue, do we have any other thing that needs to be addressed for the Fellowship of Ethereum Magician to be considered as main discussion tool link or the place?
I believe the ability to edit original posts was the primary thing that would, like the primary argument that was made against using Ethereum Magicians. So I'm currently looking at Ethereum Magicians, and it does not appear that I can edit an old post of mine.
Have you authored that post by any chance?
Yeah. So I have a post that I wrote back, for instance, for EIP 2718. This was back in June 2020, and I do not see an edit button for it, which I assume means that I don't have the ability to edit.
Okay, thank you so much for highlighting that. Maybe I can go back to the team because I understand from my last conversation, the team agreed to make it 0, that it should be allowing people to be able to edit it for an indefinite period of time.
Okay, yeah, find out if they actually did that or not. I don't see it anywhere. Or maybe it's not retroactive, but I would assume it would be.
Okay, yeah, I will definitely check on it.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Yeah, anything more on this topic? I'm definitely owning this task to check out with the team and get this issue resolved. But I'm hoping that if this issue is resolved, probably we can start promoting FEM as a forum for discussion to link. The next item on the agenda is EIP's GitHub page renderer. has a critical vulnerability. I believe Micah has pointed out this thing on Discord. Just wondering if this issue is resolved, or do you need any resource or visibility?
This is an ongoing issue. We don't have anyone on our team who is a Ruby expert or even knows anything about Ruby at all. And since Jekyll is Ruby, when there's a vulnerability or we need to do a Jekyll update or Ruby dependency update, none of us know how to do that, and none of us have the time to go and figure out how to do that.
Not a problem. I think we can ask community for help, and we may be looking for someone who has knowledge on Ruby, and if they are willing to come and help on updating the Jekyll updates here. I just wanted to be sure that if this requirement is still open, so we share the word out and try to get someone. Okay. I'm gonna skip the number 5 item execution specs. I know Samuelson has to drop off, so I'm gonna skip this item.
Sorry, I just realized I was talking about the Ruby stuff and didn't realize I was muted. For the previous one, I'll just restate what I thought I told you. Is an ongoing issue. We don't have anyone on the team who knows Ruby or has an inclination to learn Ruby, but Jekyll, which is the thing that renders the pages into the eipv.ethereum.org, is written in Ruby. And so when we have a vulnerability that we need to address or we need to do an update or something, none of us know how to do that or how to evaluate such an update or how to make sure it works, anything like that. And so we just need somebody who has some amount of knowledge of Ruby to help with that, ideally on a recurring basis, because this is not the first time this has come up.
Okay, we can add that information. Just curious, do you think it will help that this piece of code be written in some other language and then be used, like we did rewrite the bot, EIP bot again? So do you have any thoughts on that?
That would be a pretty large undertaking. I'd be hesitant to go down that route, just because I know how like big and complicated of a task that will end up being. It's not impossible, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Sounds fair. In that case, we'll continue our search for a Ruby expert to look into these issues. Okay, the next item is EIP bot issues and Eipv issues. I know there are a lot of open issues right now, and I am looking for more people to join in to help us get those issues worked on. So if someone who is listening to the call would like to contribute to the Ethereum EIP GitHub repository, please take a look at the EIP bot issues and Eipv issues. Links are available on the agenda. The next item is EIP's insight. So in the month of March so far, one significant change is merged to EIP1, and that is limiting links to external resources. And there are certain wordings that has been changed to EIP1. So please take a look at it if you are an author, and maybe try to avoid using any external link going forward. There are 2 new proposals which are merged, EIP 4844 and EIP 4863. And only one proposal so far has been moved to stagnant, that is EIP 3326 wallet switch Ethereum chain RPC method. This is just the start of the month, so we would be expecting more merges coming soon. But on this particular proposal, Micah, if I can ask for your opinion here, the proposal number 3326, it looks like it's an interface proposal, right? And earlier we decided that the process would be different and we may not be continuing.
3326, you said?
That's correct.
That's the Eip's repo.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like it's merged. What's the question?
It is stagnant.
3326.
EIP
Oh,
332.
Eip 3226. Okay, sorry.
Sorry,
was looking at
I
PR.
just have shared the link in the
Thank
chat.
you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the issue with it? It's stagnant. Why is that a problem?
No, that's not a problem. My question here was like, I know most of the EIPs on the interface level are going to be moved out of it. So that's it. Like, should we start closing it or we should wait for bot? I think waiting for bot would be a good idea, right? That they die down.
Yeah, I'm fine with just letting them fall into stagnant eventually. If they're not finalized, and if they are finalized, I'm okay with leaving them there. And at some point, we may just remove the interface section from. No, we shouldn't do that. Yeah, I think my preference is to let the bot turn them stagnant eventually if they're not finalized, and if they are finalized, we just leave them there for the time being. That's my weak preference, but I'm open to arguments against that.
Yeah, I think in the next 6 months, we would be expecting some major overhaul with this EIP process. So if at all possible, taking the advantage of change of the process, we can try to add or remove the categories we want to see or we don't want to see in the EIPs in future. Okay, that's good. And I think we are almost done with all the items. The next one is EIP editors apprenticeship meeting. Yesterday, we could not have the meeting, and the next meeting is planned on March 22nd. Item number 9 is EIP meeting time and name survey. I did talk about it in the meeting earlier. So if you are an EIP editor and you would like an alternate time for this meeting, because it would be nice to have all EIP editors get synced once in 2 weeks and close the open issues. I hope that that is going to be helpful for people. So if you are open to it, please fill out this small survey for us. Item number 10 is review action item from previous meetings. So from the last meeting, it seems there were 3 action items: formal onboarding of William Schwab and Sam Wilson. Sam has already been added as EIP editors, and I believe EIP 1 is also updated because I remember seeing some pull requests to update EIP 1. But William Schwab, I have shared the link with him, and I'm hopeful that whenever he gets a chance, he will make that pull request. Yeah. Action 50.2, Pooja will get in touch with Andrew in order to remove EIP 1706 from the yellow paper. So Andrew confirmed me this morning that the yellow paper has been updated, and I hope that 1706 is removed from the yellow paper now. Action number 3, Shashank will create an issue to fix the validator check field. Withdraw reason. I don't see Shashank on the call. Maybe we will check on this issue list if that is created or not. If not, then I will follow up with him. So that's all on the items listed for EIP meeting 51. Anything else anyone would like to bring up today?
Nothing from me.
It was pretty light today. Looks like even if the agenda list looks longer, but thank you so much for joining and sharing your recommendations for some of the information that I think would be useful for new people who are trying to join in as an EIP editors. Thank you everyone for joining the meeting today. Have a good one, everyone.
Thanks, Pooja.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.